Greetings, fellow adventurers. It is I, your faithful guide and trusted companion. It is good to see you all again. Now, I did originally have an entire freeform video that I had nearly completed, but the main file that I had got corrupted. This director's commentary was supposed to be out months ago, but I needed some time away. My real-world job takes up a lot of my time and mental resources, so as of late I have been unable to even touch my world or this video. Not to mention much of the original video has been lost. I feel like I nailed it with that first version, but of course I don't have much to work with from that original version. After some reflection, I realized that a proper video was in order with a script and editing. There will be multiple chapters where I will dissect my builds, writing, and give you my thought process behind most of the areas that I have done. In total, I am unsure of how much time has gone into my world, but it is most certainly over 1,000 hours worth of work. It may not seem like it at first, but there has been quite a bit of thought put into every chunk that is explorable. I'll have time codes in the description for the different chapters if you want to skip around. Let's not stall any further. Welcome to the North. Welcome to They're All Gone. The very first thing that I ever did in this world was to smooth out the terrain. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, it's pretty tedious. Minecraft's chunk generation works about like 80 to 85% of the time, if not less than that. There will be spots in the ground where physics are totally forgotten or where the game just makes no sense. In an effort to make my world feel as immersive as possible, I fixed most, if not all of these mistakes within the playable area. This took forever to do by itself. Hours and hours went by of me building nothing and just filling up errors in the world generation. I mainly just had YouTube videos on in the background while I went through trying to systematically remove all of them. Additionally, I also covered up most of the caves or entrances into cave systems, as I do not want anyone getting lost. If a cave remains in my world, it is because I deemed it worthy of staying or there is a secret within. It is really easy to get lost in Minecraft, but I still wanted it to feel like a natural adventure where the player has full agency to go where they want. I also had to remove almost every village by hand and then fill in the gaps in the ground. Once the map was thoroughly cleaned up, I had to decide what genre I was going to do. I didn't want to just start building random things like every other creative world. I wanted an actual concept so that I wasn't just building in creative. I felt a strong urge to roll with a medieval fantasy vibe for my world, as by this point, I wasn't even sure what theme the world was going to be. I didn't even think I was going to publicly release this. I was just inspired by the way the world looked. It was just a very Lord of the Rings vibe. And now without any further ado, that leads me right into the story. When I first loaded into my world, I had zero intentions of ever making my world a public experience. In fact, my world was like a Zen garden for over a year. I would load in, build something, and just relax. I would often migrate over to survival just to mix it up, or I would get bored so it was sort of desolate. Once I had built a few homes, I felt this strong desire to continue until it snowballed into a full-fledged experience complete with secrets and lore. I used the terrain and the environment to craft a fun story that was engaging. There are two simultaneous stories happening at once that I wanted to overlap in a natural way. To keep the synopsis brief, will be very simple, since I wanted an easy-to-digest story that wasn't convoluted or stupid. The area that you explore is known as the North. This area was first inhabited by simple nomads who eventually went to war with each other over resources. That was until the first king wrangled them all into a cohesive population to stabilize the area and to have a fighting force capable of battling their neighbors who were highly aggressive. These people were from the south, and they started their first major war with the Northerners. The Northerners won due to divine intervention from the gods and from the wizards who were sent by the gods. The wizards and gods watched over the people of the North for centuries, but when the South returned for round 2, the gods and wizards were nowhere to be found. Only the king, his personal guard, and some people in his court managed to escape to an ancient city under the cold mountain, but they too disappeared without a trace, just like the wizards and gods before them. The Southerners won and looted the North, but when they returned to their homes, there was a massive invasion force from the East that had pillaged the South. Enraged, the South fought back, but were ultimately decimated. Out of the thousands that attacked, only a few hundred Easterners survived to return home, but the psychological damage was severe. No one ever went to the North ever again, and it became a ghost story. That's when you decide to risk it all and see if the tales are true. That's when you arrive to find the buildings still there, but no one is around. They're all gone. I didn't want to go too in-depth with the other sections, as the setup is often the most boring part. The next couple of chapters will cover the actual substance of my world, the explorable areas that are available to you. We shall begin with the starting island, which should be thought of as a public parking lot. This island is one of the few that enable travelers to dock their ships for free. As long as they observe the laws of the North, then they are free to use the public space as they wish. A few people live on this small inlet, including the groundskeeper, several workers, and there are even a few businesses. There is a bookstore and a bakery, both of which are hard to find in this remote valley. This leads directly into Minagorath, which was considered one of the best, if not the best, travel destination in the north due to its historical significance within the story. There was one of those places that not only had a swimming pool, diner, and a nice hotel, but it also had its own water treatment facility, which was practically unheard of in this world. All of Minagorath is dedicated to vacationing families and those who are looking for cultural enlightenment. It just takes off from there. You get to see the city of Venatora and its adjacent areas, such as the fishing and industrial districts. There are the towns of Alador and Banduro, which both served as quaint offshoots to the bigger city. There are many builds that are scattered around to make the world feel more realistic, and there are ancient homes long since gone. There are many rest areas and many homes that are well off the standard path. I was tired of playing adventure maps that were either way too restrictive or way too big. I opted for a medium and distilled version, but still vast. Exploring the map will feel rewarding and keep you playing for hours. As massive as all of this is, it pales in comparison to the update that I'm currently working on. I decided to add the South, and there will be a sneak peek at the end of the video, so stick around if you're interested. Have fun, and feel free to go crazy with the exploration. Who knows what you'll find. I took somewhat of a Star Wars approach to the style of builds in a lot of cases. What I mean by that is that I take multiple cultures, architectural styles, and I mash them together to form a new identity for the build. My favorite style is a mix between Scandinavian and Asian, which looks kind of Viking-esque. That being said, each building has evolved a lot over time. The initial designs all mostly sucked, to be truthful, and I was not proud of many of them. I went through and redid most of the builds, almost nearly really all of them, and I just hadn't found my workflow yet, and that can often be the hardest part for most people. Eventually, I found peace in buildings that I would personally either love to be in or live in, and designing them with my unique style that makes sense from quite a few different points. I initially began with no lore whatsoever until I looked around the map and I grew inspired to write little tidbits here and there until I eventually had a library's worth of books, which is not a joke, and I encourage you to go to the library in Venatora. Writing the lore was one of the best parts for me personally, as I love to write stories and whatnot. I easily found my stride when I was flying around in creative trying to get the inspiration. The map has a very Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones-esque vibe that I truly love. I will leave the seed number in the description if you want to check out this world in its initial glory before I built anything on it. In the Google Drive folder for my project, I've left each instance of my previous versions in the folder if you want to see the progress from less than a year's worth of progress to almost 4 years worth of progress as of now. Almost 5, which is insane. Once I found my build style, I constructed so many new things, as well as renovating all of my previous work. I can happily say that I am really honestly quite pleased with the story that I made and the buildings that I have done. The world feels alive and worth exploring. I also took inspiration from my home state of California with quite a few builds, as I love the alpine and classic vintage designs. It also felt good to add another personal touch of my own into the world. If you're interested in reading the names of notable characters, builds, then you can look on my Planet Minecraft page for more details, as there is a lot that would fill up this video, and it would make it longer than it has to be. I debated on if I should even include this section, as I wanted to keep all the secrets 100% secret, but I fear that they are way too well hidden to be found, so I decided to showcase them. But I will not be giving away their locations directly through coordinates or anything like that. I do want to show off what I've done, though. There is a hidden laboratory that a scientist built to study the area's unique bioforms and creatures. There's a lot of interactable stuff in there, which I won't spoil, but it's definitely fun to walk around. My personal favorite is the city under the stone, also known by its true name of Poradoro. This was the first major settlement in all of the land. Before Venator ever stood, it was kept as a secret by each king passing the knowledge to the next. It was the place that the king, some of his men, and some of his court ran off to when the South attacked. A vigilante that lives in Venatora, who is basically Batman. If you can get a vigilante that lives in Venatora, who is basically Batman, if you can find this, then you definitely get it. Some homes have hidden arms rooms in some houses from the secret Southerners who accumulated weapons and ammunition for the invasion. The Venatora Library has a secret room with much lore that took me hours to write. There is hidden loot and caskets dotted around the land. Some of it is very powerful. With so many locations, there are going to be a lot of secrets. You just have to look around a little. You never know where a lever could be hidden, or a secret valley full of entities could be hidden just out of sight. The world that I have developed is pretty massive, and I wanted it to feel that way, but honestly, this whole project got way too out of hand at a certain point. It got a little overwhelming, but I am glad that I pushed through anyways. The North feels truly lived in and realistic, within Minecraft standards and my own, of course. I hope that you found this video to be at least somewhat interesting, or at least to get you hyped up to play my world. Eventually, if it takes off enough, I want to make it into a realm so it can be a live server that anyone can join, but that may be a long time away. This video took way longer than I wanted it to, mostly due to my mental health, and I was focusing on that rather than my Minecraft world and anything else, for obvious reasons. Regardless, I appreciate you for sticking around. The support I have received from the community has been absolutely amazing. I would not have completed as much as I have without users like Barad Alil and KillerB63, and all of the other amazing people on my Discord, as well as the people on my Planet Minecraft page, which is where you can find the world for yourself. I really cannot stress enough that the world, this director's commentary that you're watching right now, and the project as a whole would not have been possible without the tremendous support of the community. Thank you all so much, and I hope you enjoy what I've made, and there is even more in store for this world in the future, so stay tuned for future updates. Finally, thank you for everyone for being patient and giving me space. I have been through a lot in the last 2 years, and I really needed time to myself while not focusing on projects or anything. My IRL job is extremely demanding, and it has taken its toll mentally. I was genuinely super worried about my health, so I had to take a step away from everyone and everything. Thanks to that, I am not only much better, but I feel reinvigorated to keep going on with my various projects. Well, that's all I've got for now. Farewell, adventurer, and I hope to see you in the lands of the North.